Boi. Come. Bashalan. In the peace. Atele. Putting crown on. Byler. Her husband. Boi Kailar. Come bride. This is a beautiful Hebrew wedding song, as if the angels in heaven are calling for the bride who has been waiting for 6,000 years to stand up bravely and put on the crown of glory for the coming King of Heaven.
大家好，欢迎来到以诺谈天节目。今天我们讲亚伯拉罕的故事第12部分。民风淳朴，克平安，恶山恶水，克遭殃。亚伯拉罕在避难，善待客旅，显为宜。前面我们说了，上帝在创造天地之先就呼唤亚伯兰2次，伯兰，伯兰。伯兰出生见天象，宁录王要杀他，结果仆人的儿子代替了亚伯兰，神救了他。亚伯兰苦寻上帝，宁录建塔办天庭。亚伯兰披神像，宁录把亚伯兰与哥哥哈兰投入火炉，最终亚伯兰3日3夜毫发未损，哈兰死在火炉中。宁录再次要杀亚伯兰，最终他们全家逃离，神第一次呼召亚伯兰进迦南地。神第二次呼召亚伯兰进迦南地，遇见荒年，撒来险遭不测。罗德与亚伯兰分开，差点被掳去，亚伯兰带318家丁救罗德。神与亚伯兰立约，祝福四方，撒来等不及，下甲先得子。99岁亚伯兰割礼改名，准备迎接以撒的到来。在准备牛犊的过程中，发现了那埋葬亚当夏娃的洞。上帝灭所多玛地区多城，亚伯拉罕为一人罗的祷告。
Hello everyone, welcome to EnochTH Show. Today we begin the story of Abraham, part 12. Those areas with simple and safe customs among their people, travelers were safe and sound. And those areas with evil people, travelers were suffer and died. Abraham avoid humiliation again since he has been kind to travelers. In the previous sections we talked before the creation of the heaven and the earth. God called Abram twice, Burim and Burim. Abram was born, and King Nimrod wanted to kill him, but his servant's son took Abram's place. God saved him. Abram searched so hard for the way of back to heaven. Nimrod built a tower to rebel against heaven. In anger, Abram burned idols of false gods and smashed the idols of Nimrod. Abram was thrown in the furnace for 3 days and 3 nights. But he walked out without damage even a single hair. Nimrod had a nightmare and wanted to kill Abram. And Abram entered the land of Canaan in his early 50s. God called Abram for the second time into the land of Canaan. In the famine years, beauty of Sarai almost landed her a disaster. Lot and Abram separated and were almost captured. Abram brought 318 servants to rescue Lot. The covenant made in wilderness will bless the universe. Sarai was anxious to get a son through Hagar. Circumcised at 99 years old, God made covenant with Abram and changed their names to prepare to give birth of a son. Abram sat under oak trees with circumcision pain to welcome travelers. Angels visited them and a calf run away to bring great blessing of knowing the cave of Machpelah. God destroyed the 5 cities of Sodom and saved Lot.
下面我们先来探讨一下，为什么上帝要我们善待客旅，善待外人？实际上，上帝告诉以色列人，要善待寄住在以色列家的外邦人， 因为以色列人也寄居在埃及过。虽然在亚伯拉罕这辈子，他的后代还没去埃及，但亚伯拉罕深知善待客旅有多重要。最终，当亚伯拉罕全家逃难时，上帝也可以出手救他们脱离危险，因为他们善待了他们遇见的陌生人。想想，如果亚伯拉罕没有这么做，最终他们家落难时，撒旦能不拦住上帝救他们的手？所以说，平时善待弱势群体，等自己落难了，上天也会善待你的。不欺负弱势的，其实是敬天的表现，因为明白这群弱势的背后，实际上上帝在给他们撑腰。在末世代，上帝的万王们都是以兽牛的样式出现，所以想欺负他们的人多的是，那些没欺负他们的，特别是给他们一碗水的，就在不知不觉中迎来巨大的祝福。这些人连自己都不知道自己为什么那么好运，而反过来的却刚好相反，就像拉班，时候一到，上帝就让他得重病而亡。对我们末日方舟里的而言，方舟就是界限，对每一个在方舟里的都是弟兄，哪怕是过去的仇人，也得放下一切去当亲弟兄，哪怕最终被以扫搞得遍体鳞伤，以扫还是亲弟兄，直到他离开方舟的那一刻。而方舟以外，哪怕是在亲密的，最终也是陌生人。所以真以色列人都知道，当接他们去方舟的人到的时刻，最爱家人的方法，就是立刻跟着这人走，最终在方舟里家庭团聚，而不是把家里人聚集在一起走，那就都错过了。我们外邦人也是如此。好，我们来看这部分内容，先看经文描述。亚伯拉罕从那里向南地迁去，寄居在加迪斯和舒尔中间的基拉尔。亚伯拉罕称他的妻撒拉为妹子，基拉尔王亚比米勒差人把撒拉娶了去。但夜间，神来在梦中对亚比米勒说：“你是个死人啊，因为你娶了那女人来，她原是别人的妻子。”亚比米勒却还没有亲近撒拉，他说：“主啊，连有义的国，你也要毁灭吗？那人岂不是自己对我说她是我的妹子吗？就是女人也自己说他是我的哥哥。我做这事是心正守节的。”神在梦中对他说：“我知道你做这事是心中正直，我也拦阻了你，免得你得罪我，所以我不容你沾着他。现在你把这人的妻子归还他，因为他是先知，他要为你祷告，使你存活。你若不归还他，你当知道，你和你所有的人都必要死。”亚比米勒清早起来，召了众臣仆来，将这些事都说给他们听，他们都甚惧怕。亚比米勒召了亚伯拉罕来，对他说：“你怎么像我这样行呢？我在什么事上得罪了你？你竟使我和我国里的人陷在大罪里。你向我行不当行的事了。”亚比米勒又对亚伯拉罕说：“你见了什么才做这事呢？”亚伯拉罕说：“我以为这地方的人总不惧怕，神必为我妻子的缘故杀我。况且她也实在是我的妹子，她与我是同父异母，后来做了我的妻子。当神叫我离开父家，漂流在外的时候，我对他说：我们无论走到什么地方，你可以对人说他是我的哥哥，这就是你待我的恩典了。”亚比米勒把牛、羊、仆婢赐给亚伯拉罕，又把他的妻子撒拉归还他。亚比米勒又说：“看啊，我的地都在你面前，你可以随意居住。”又对撒拉说：“我给你哥哥1000银子，作为你在何家人面前遮羞的羞，原文是眼，你就在众人面前没有不是了。”亚伯拉罕祷告，神就医好了亚比米勒和他的妻子， 并他的众女仆，他们便能生育。因耶和华为亚伯拉罕的妻子撒拉的缘故，已经使亚比米勒家中的妇人不能生育。创世纪20章1至18节和合本亚撒尔书第20章。因那时，亚伯拉罕从曼利平原起行，来到非利士人的地，住在基拉尔。那是亚伯拉罕在迦南地的第25年，亚伯拉罕正值100岁，来到了非利士地的基拉尔。他们进入那地时，他对妻子撒拉说：若有人问起你，就说你是我的妹子，这样我们好脱离这地百姓的恶。亚伯拉罕在非利士的居住，非利士王亚比米勒的仆人看见撒拉的美貌，向亚伯拉罕打听他。他回答说：她是我的妹子。亚比米勒的仆人回去见王，说有一个从迦南地来的人住在此地，他有一个妹子，极其貌美。亚比米勒听见他仆人在他面前称赞撒拉的话，就差他的官长将撒拉带到面前。撒拉到了亚比米勒的宫里，王被撒拉的美貌打动。他走上前，对他说：那个与你一同到我们这地的男人是你什么人？撒拉回答王说：他是我的兄弟，我们从迦南地来，为要在这里找个地方住下来。亚比米勒对撒拉说：看，我的地都在你眼前，你的兄弟可以随意居住，我们会尽力使他在全地的人面前有尊荣，因为他是你的兄弟。亚比米勒派人去把亚伯拉罕带来，亚伯拉罕就来到王的面前。亚比米勒对亚伯拉罕说：看，我已因你妹子撒拉的缘故下令，你可随自己的心意的尊荣。亚伯拉罕就从王面前退去，王眼前的人跟着他。到了傍晚，在人躺下休息之前，王坐在他的宝座上，突然沉睡过去，他躺在座椅上睡去，直到天亮。他梦见耶和华的一位使者，手中拿着一把拔出来的剑，使者站在亚比米勒面前，想要用剑杀他。王在梦中惊恐，对使者说：我做了什么得罪了你，以至于你要用剑杀我？使者回答亚比米勒：因你昨夜对那妇人所做的，就是你带到自己宫中的，她已嫁人，那人就是到你殿中的亚伯拉罕。现在你要把他的妻子归还给他，因为他是属他的。若是不归还，你要知道，你和你的全家必定死。那夜，在非利士的有大惊叫，那地的人看到一个人的形状，手中拿着一把抽出来的剑，他用剑杀了那地的百姓，并不停止。耶和华的使者那夜击打非利士全地，那夜并第二夜都有大惊骇与扰乱。所有妇人都不能生育，月经也断绝。耶和华的手因亚伯拉罕的妻子撒拉的缘故，就是亚比米勒所取去的，重重的加在他们身上。早晨，亚比米勒在恐惧、扰乱与惊恐当中起来，他召了仆人来，将他所做的梦告诉他们，人听了非常害怕。仆人中有一人回答王说：我主，将这妇人归还给她的丈夫，因她本是她的丈夫。埃及的王因他到了埃及地，也遭遇了同样的事。他对人提到他的妻子时说：这是我的妹子，因这是他到寄居之地所惯行的。法老差人把那妇人娶来为妻，耶和华降大灾在他身上，他不得不把妇人归还她的丈夫。所以我主知道昨夜全地所发生的事，就是有极大的惊愕、疼痛与哭号。我们知道，这都是因你将那妇人娶了来。现在将这妇人归还她的丈夫，免得埃及法老及他的人所受的也临到我们， 我们便要死。亚比米勒急忙召了撒拉来，又差人把亚伯拉罕带来。24亚比米勒对他们说：你们说是兄妹，以致我将这妇人娶来为妻，这做的是什么事呢？25亚伯拉罕说：因为我以为我会因我的妻子而死。亚比米勒取了羊群，男女侍从及1000两银子，给了亚伯拉罕，并将撒拉龟还给他。26亚比米勒对亚伯拉罕说：看哪，全地都在你面前，你可以随意居住。27亚伯拉罕和他的妻子撒拉带着尊荣从王面前退去，住在那地，与基拉尔相近。28非利士全地的人及王的仆人仍旧住在平原，就是使者因撒拉的缘故整夜刑罚他们之地。29亚比米勒差人把亚伯拉罕带来，说：现在向你的神耶和华为你仆人祈祷，好使他将这死从我们中间撤去。30亚伯拉罕为亚比米勒和他的人祷告神，耶和华听了亚伯拉罕的祷告，医治了亚比米勒全家。全是上帝允许亚伯拉罕第二次犯错，并且再次救撒来，一来是帮助亚伯拉罕改正错误，二来是对他为10个义人祷告的回应，也就是告诉亚伯拉罕，就算是一个义人，上帝必救他。当夫妻2人有隔阂，最终上帝会不会救一个，拒绝一个？当然会。那是不是就那个撇下丈夫直奔上帝的人？肯定不会的，因为听从丈夫的、顺从丈夫是上帝的诫命。妇人如果抛弃自己丈夫，直奔上帝而来，看起来很伟大、很正确，实际上时候到了，她还会直奔比上帝更好的去，再抛弃上帝的。那到底怎么救那妇人？实际上我们会看见实例，那丈夫在最后一刻明白过来，也知道自己不配进入方舟，最终托付给以诺，他的妻子儿子。从此他的妻子儿子在天上按照特别的天使那样永远的活着。我们只要记住，上帝最终是会有办法的，妇人对丈夫的忠诚是最大的诫命。这就是为什么路得记描述了一个最典型的亚当家该做的。
Next, let's discuss first. Why does God want us to be kind to travelers and to outsiders? In fact, God told the Israelites to be kind to the Gentiles who lived in the house of Israel, because the Israelites also lived in Egypt. Although in Abraham's lifetime, his descendants had not yet gone to Egypt, but Abraham knew how important it was to be kind to travelers. In the end, when Abraham's family fled, God could also rescue them from danger because they were kind to the strangers they met. Think about it, if Abraham didn't do this, when their family was in trouble, could Satan not stop God from saving them? Therefore, treat the disadvantaged with kindness at ordinary times, and when you are in trouble, God will treat you kindly and save them from danger. Not bullying the weak is actually showing respect for the heaven, because they understand that behind the weak, God is actually supporting them. In the last generation in Doomsday, God's kings all will appear in the form of thin and weak cows, so there will be many people who want to bully them. Those who don't bully them, especially those who give them a bowl of water, will be unknowingly going to receive huge blessings. These people don't even know why they are so lucky. On the other hand, it is just the opposite, just like Laban to ill-treat Jacob. When the time came, God made him seriously ill and died. For us in the ark of the doomsday, the ark is the boundary. For everyone within the ark, we are brothers. Even if we were enemies in the past, we must give up any hatred and become brothers, even if Esau will end up getting us bruised and bruised deeply. Esau was still a brother until the moment he left the ark. And outside of the ark, no matter how intimate they were, they will be still strangers in the end. So, true Israelites know that when the person who takes them to the ark arrives, the best way to love their family is to follow this person immediately, and eventually in family reunion in the Arkansas. If any family wants to bring the family together and walking together to the ark, all will miss the Arkansas. It is the same with us Gentiles as well. Okay, let's look at this part. First look at the description of the scriptures. And Abraham journeyed from there to the south, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. Now Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, "Indeed you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife." But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, will you slay a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister'?" And she, even she herself said, "He is my brother." In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands I have done this. And God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. For I also withheld you from sinning against me, therefore I did not let you touch her. Now therefore, restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours." So Abimelech rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all these things in their hearing, and the men were very much afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? How have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds to me that ought not to be done." Then Abimelech said to Abraham, "What did you have in view, that you have done this thing?" And Abraham said, "Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me on account of my wife. But indeed she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, 'This is your kindness that you should do for me. In every place, wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother.' Then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, 'See, my land is before you, dwell where it pleases you.' Then to Sarah he said, 'Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody.' Thus she was rebuked. So Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants. Then they bore children, for the Lord had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Genesis 20 verses 1 to 18 NKJV. Book of Jasher, chapter 20. 1 And at that time Abraham journeyed from the plain of Mamre, and he went to the land of the Philistines, and he dwelt in Gerar. It was in the 25th year of Abraham's being in the land of Canaan, and the 100th year of the life of Abraham, that he came to Gerar in the land of the Philistines. 2 And when they entered the land he said to Sarah his wife, "Say thou art my sister, to anyone that shall ask thee, in order that we may escape the evil of the inhabitants of the land." 3 And as Abraham was dwelling in the land of the Philistines, the servants of Abimelech, king of the Philistines, saw that Sarah was exceedingly beautiful, and they asked Abraham concerning her, and he said, "She is my sister." 4 And the servants of Abimelech went to Abimelech, saying, A man from the land of Canaan is come to dwell in the land, and he has a sister that is exceeding fair. 5 And Abimelech heard the words of his servants who praised Sarah to him, and Abimelech sent his officers, and they brought Sarah to the king. 6 And Sarah came to the house of Abimelech, and the king saw that Sarah was beautiful, and she pleased him exceedingly. 7 And he approached her and said to her, What is that man to thee with whom thou didst come to our land? And Sarah answered and said, He is my brother, and we came from the land of Canaan to dwell wherever we could find a place. 8 And Abimelech said to Sarah, Behold, my land is before thee, place thy brother in any part of this land that pleases thee, and it will be our duty to exalt and elevate him above all the people of the land, since he is thy brother. 9 And Abimelech sent for Abraham, and Abraham came to Abimelech. 10 And Abimelech said to Abraham, Behold, I have given orders that thou shalt be honored, as thou desirest, on account of thy sister Sarah. 11 And Abraham went forth from the king, and the king's present followed him. 12 As at evening time, before men lie down to rest, the king was sitting upon his throne, and a deep sleep fell upon him, and he lay upon the throne and slept till morning. 13 And he dreamed that an angel of the Lord came to him with a drawn sword in his hand, and the angel stood over Abimelech, and wished to slay him with the sword, and the king was terrified in his dream, and said to the angel, In what have I sinned against thee that thou comest to slay me with thy sword? 14 And the angel answered and said to Abimelech, Behold, thou didst on account of the woman which thou didst yesternight bring to thy house, for she is a married woman, the wife of Abraham, who came to thy house. Now therefore return that man his wife, for she is his wife, and shouldst thou not return her, know that thou wilt surely die, thou and all belonging to thee. 15 And on that night there was a great outcry in the land of the Philistines, and the inhabitants of the land saw the figure of a man standing with a drawn sword in his hand, and he smote the inhabitants of the land with the sword, yet he continued to smite them. 16 And the angel of the Lord smote the whole land of the Philistines on that night, and there was a great confusion on that night and on the following morning. 17 And every womb was closed, and all their issues, and the hand of the Lord was upon them on account of Sarah, wife of Abraham, whom Abimelech had taken. 18 And in the morning Abimelech rose with terror and confusion and with a great dread, and he sent and had his servants called in, and he related his dream to them, and the people were greatly afraid. 19 And one man standing amongst the servants of the king answered the king, saying, O sovereign king, restore this woman to her husband, for he is her husband, for the like happened to the king of Egypt when this man came to Egypt. 20 And he said concerning his wife, She is my sister, for such is his manner of doing when he cometh to dwell in the land in which he is a stranger. 21 And Pharaoh sent and took this woman for a wife, and the Lord brought upon him grievous plagues until he returned the woman to her husband. 22 Now therefore, O sovereign king, know what happened yesternight to the whole land, for there was a very great consternation and great pain and lamentation, and we know that it was on account of the woman which thou didst take. 23 Now, therefore, restore this woman to her husband, lest it should befall us as it did to Pharaoh king of Egypt and his subjects, and that we may not die. And Abimelech hastened and called, and had Sarah called for, and she came before him, and he had Abraham called for, and he came before him. 24 And Abimelech said to them, What is this work you have been doing in saying you are brother and sister? And I took this woman for a wife. 25 And Abraham said, Because I thought I should suffer death on account of my wife. And Abimelech took flocks and herds, and men servants and maid servants, and 1,000 pieces of silver, and he gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah to him. 26 And Abimelech said to Abraham, behold the whole land is before thee, dwell in it wherever thou shalt choose. 27 And Abraham and Sarah, his wife, went forth from the king's presence with honor and respect, and they dwelt in the land, even in Gerar. 28 And all the inhabitants of the land of the Philistines and the king's servants were still in pain, through the plague which the angel had inflicted upon them the whole night on account of Sarah. 29 And Abimelech sent for Abraham, saying, Pray now for thy servants to the Lord thy God, that he may put away this mortality from amongst us. 30 And Abraham prayed on account of Abimelech and his subjects, and the Lord heard the prayer of Abraham, and he healed Abimelech and all his subjects. Interpretation. God allowed Abraham to make a second mistake and saved Sarai again. One purpose was to help Abraham correct his mistakes, and the other was to answer his prayer for 10 righteous people, that is, to tell Abraham that even if he was the only single righteous person, God would save him and his family. When there is disharmony between the husband and wife, will God ultimately save one and reject the other? Of course. Does God save the woman who left her husband and went straight to God? Certainly not, because obeying her husband is the commandment of God. If a woman abandons her husband and goes straight to God, it seems godliness and righteousness. In fact, when the time comes, she will go straight to a better God in her eyes, and then abandon the God in heaven. So how the woman who has been obeying to her wicked husband will be saved? In fact, we will see those instances which the wicked husband realizes at the last moment that he will be unworthy to enter the ark, and finally he entrusts his wife and son to Enoch, and his wife and son will live forever in heaven as special angels. We just have to remember that God has a way in the end, and a woman's fidelity to her husband is the greatest commandment, which is why the book of Ruth describes what a typical Adam family should do.
下回书第13部分，我们谈撒拉生以撒，最终发现在戏耍中以使玛丽建制以撒，最终驱逐以使玛丽，两家结下1000年仇恨。苦等100年中结果，甜蜜入心喜笑欢。突见童子见止笑，驱逐玛丽1000年仇。谢谢大家收听以诺谈天节目，希望大家顺着思绪听，我们下回见。
In the 13th part of the story, we will talk about Sarah giving birth to Isaac, and eventually discovering that Ishmael pointed an arrow at Isaac in the play, and finally expelling Ishmael. Waiting for sweet and happy result after near a century, Abraham had a son with Sarah. Suddenly seeing Ishmael pointing arrow to Isaac and laughing, Abraham expelled Ishmael that led to 1,000-year hatred. Thank you for listening to the Enoch Talk Show. I hope you will listen to it in order, and see you next time.